In a world of incessant noise and demands, there is nothing like giving yourself the gift of a calm, centered practice to just lose yourself in the rhythm of playing with color. In this journaling exercise, we're going to take a favorite photo, pixelate it into some very simple cubic designs, and then play with our paints in a meditative state as we create a journaling page that is strictly color therapy. You won't need much for this session. You're going to need your journal, your pixelated resource, which I'll walk you through making in just a minute, a ruler and a pencil to grid out your page, your acrylic paints, and a paintbrush. That's all you need to get started. Oh, and you may want some masking tape. You'll notice that I have masked off the perimeter on my resource to just act as a place finder while I'm working with it, but that part is optional. You'll want to choose the image that you're going to work from. On the left-hand side, you see a digital resource photo. This is something that I have created specifically to paint from. But in the process of building it, I became so enamored with that orange lily and the red flowers adjacent to her that I really wanted to spend some more time with this. So that's my reasoning for choosing this particular image for this exercise. Now, how do you go about pixelating the image? You can see the pixelated version over on the right-hand side. You can use a photo editing app to pixelate your digital resource or your digital photo. A Google search will help you locate an app or program that will do this for you on your computer or on your device. I used Affinity Photo on my Mac laptop in order to pixelate this particular photo. But again, you can find all sorts of free options and whatnot out on the web with a simple Google search. So you're going to import your photo into the application that's going to pixelate it, and then you want to choose the level of pixelation. What pixelation is essentially applying a filter to your image that is going to reduce the amount of detail in the photo and break it down into a simple gridded design. Now you can choose if you wish that design to be 100 pixels wide, pixel being each of the squares, or 20 pixels wide, or even 10 or 5. The filter is going to automatically do all of that adjustment for you and give you a new image, a translated image that represents the parameters you plugged in. You're going to want to take this image and either a screenshot of it and reference it on your device, or print it out onto paper and use it as a resource for your printing process, or your painting process, I'm sorry. This inset here is a close-up of a section of the design that I plan to take to my journal page. It's roughly, I want to say maybe 22 by 30 pixels wide, just so that you have a sense of the aspect ratio that I'm using. Now, I'm not painting the entirety of this detail. Let me show you in the next slide what I'm going to tackle. Here, over on the left-hand side of the slide, you can see that I have masked off the perimeter of the section or the extraction of the pixelated detail that I'm going to work with. And this is where I counted out the perimeter of what it was I was going to paint, and this is where I came up with the roughly 30 by 22 square segment. I then chose, or you want to then choose a page in your journal to build that grid out so that you have a gridded section on your page with the squares already defined, and then it simply becomes a matter of mixing the colors and transferring them into the appropriate square. Now, I'm working in a Dina Wakley Ranger mixed media book. And this book has different types of paper all bound up together in it. The particular spread that I'm working on is burlap on one side or on the left-hand side, and a really lovely cotton rag paper on the right-hand side. And you may notice that there's already some marks on this page. So you can choose to work on a blank page if you wish, or you can go to a page that already has some marks on it. In this particular instance, the page spread that I chose to work on had a monoprint that I'd pulled or created just by inverting my open book into a wet palette and lifting the book after allowing the paint to soak into it a little bit. In a future slide, you'll get to see the entirety of this particular spread. So you want to get your grid built. My grid is basically, each of my squares are 1 centimeter wide, and I gridded that out with a pencil and a ruler over top of the marks that were already there. Here you can see just the page that I plan to paint or grid out with just the grid lines over top of the prior paint marks that were created when I inverted my book into my paint palette. And so you want to choose a starting point in your resource photo and then map that out in your book as well, or on your grid. I opted to start in the upper leftmost corner, and I just began by mixing the color that I saw in my resource, mixing that color with my paints and putting that little square of color in. I then went to other places in the design seeking variations of that square and placing them in the appropriate squares. So very slowly moved across my grid using the resource photo as my sort of key or translator as to which color goes in which box. And this really is quite a meditative practice. It was a wonderful way to spend an evening while some thunderstorms were rolling in, and just enjoy the sounds of the nature and the way the colors just sort of started to map out and become something on the page of my book without much conscious effort other than the back and forth matching of the image to what I was creating. Here you can see the full effect of the design. It's about 2/3, a little more than 2/3 of the way done, but you can see the entirety of the book wide open and the interplay of the burlap page with the cotton one, and then the additional layer of the gridded marks over top of this. Now, I had every intention of finishing my gridded painting, and I got to this point and the storms had stopped and there were some other things that were asking for my attention. And so I popped my brush in the water and walked away. When I came back, I felt such a poignant beauty in the unfinished quality or the interrupted quality of this very carefully gridded out design, with the noise level of the world and how demanding life has become lately of our attention and energies. And I opted to leave this page as it was because it felt like it fully reflected the day, that moment in my life when I sat down to do that or do this. That said, you can choose to take your page to completion in whatever way you want. You could take it all the way through. You could choose to replicate other aspects of your resource photo in various ways, sort of collage style on your page. You could do all sorts of variants of this approach. I encourage you to make this exercise your own and set it up to suit and match your energy levels, the amount of time that you have, and even so much the colors that you have available to work with. It's most important that you just enjoy the process and you give yourself the gift of playing with art materials for no reason other than to play with them. Happy journaling. I cannot wait to see what you do with this exercise. and hear how it's impacted your enjoyment of your materials and your art journaling practice. If you're looking for more art journaling lessons or content, there's so much of it over on my YouTube channel. If you go to youtube.com and you search for Kimberly Santini, you will find an entire playlist with well over 30 art journaling lessons that are all designed kid-friendly, all ages friendly, no prior arting experience needed. And the vast majority of these are lessons that you can do at home with materials you most likely already have on hand. Happy art journaling, and thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you find it really inspiring.